Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by asking you a simple question. What do Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, and other self-made millionaires have in common? It's not just money. It's not just talent. It's mindset. Take Steve Jobs, for example. He didn't start Apple with billions in the bank. He started with vision, belief, and an unshakable mindset trained to see opportunity where others saw failure. He thought differently, not just about products, but about himself, about the world, and about what was possible. Today, we're going to talk about how you can train your mind like a millionaire, so that you don't just make money, but build the mindset to create lasting success and impact. Because if you can learn to think like a millionaire, you can begin to live like one. When I was just starting out, I didn't have much, not money, not resources, not even certainty. But what I did have was a way of thinking, a deep belief that the world wasn't limited by what already existed. I believed that the rules most people lived by were optional, that reality could be bent, and that possibility was always just one thought away. See, most people are trained from an early age to think in terms of limits. They're taught to stay inside the lines, to be realistic, to avoid risk. They operate from a place of scarcity, constantly asking, what if it doesn't work? Or what if I fail? They worry there's not enough to go around. Enough money, enough opportunities, enough success. But that kind of thinking is a trap. Scarcity thinking narrows your vision. It makes you cautious, reactive, and ultimately small. You start building your life around fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being wrong, fear of not being enough. And in that space, innovation dies. Creativity suffocates. You're no longer playing to win. You're playing not to lose. If you want to train your mind like a millionaire, you have to unlearn that thinking. You have to completely rewire your beliefs about what's possible, because millionaires, those who actually build wealth from nothing, they don't see a fixed pie. They don't believe opportunity is reserved for the few. They know value can be created out of thin air. They understand that the mind, when focused, is the most powerful tool in the universe. Everything you see around you, every product, every brand, every tool you use, started as an idea. Just a thought. It didn't exist until someone decided to believe in something that wasn't real yet. That's the psychology of abundance. It's about believing in a future that hasn't happened yet, and showing up every day as if it already has. When I was building something from scratch, I wasn't asking, what can I do with what I have? I was asking, what can I create that doesn't exist yet? That shift changes everything. It's the difference between working inside a system and creating your own. You need to stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like a creator. Consumers are always looking for what they can get. Creators ask, what can I give? What can I build? What can I bring into the world that's better, smarter, simpler? Millionaire minds are not focused on grabbing a piece of the pie. They are baking a whole new one. This mindset shows up in everyday decisions too. The person with a scarcity mindset avoids risk because they're terrified of loss. The person with an abundance mindset understands that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's a part of it. They take bold action because they know there's always more to learn, more to gain, and more to create. The way you speak to yourself matters. The questions you ask yourself matter. Instead of saying, I can't afford that, start asking, how can I afford that? Instead of saying, this will never work, ask, what would make this work? The moment you start asking better questions, your brain starts finding better answers, and those answers build momentum. I remember so many times being told, you can't do that, that's impossible, and I didn't get angry. I just smiled, because I knew they were speaking from their limits, not mine. You have to protect your mind like it's the source of everything, because it is. What you feed it, what you allow in, who you listen to, it all matters. You can't plant the seeds of abundance in a mind overrun with weeds of doubt. You want to live a life most people only dream about, then think thoughts most people never dare to think. You want to create something that changes the game, then you can't keep playing by everyone else's rules, and you sure as hell can't be afraid to imagine something bigger than your current reality. Millionaires don't just manage money, they manage mindset. And they do it ruthlessly. They cut out distractions, they ignore noise, they say no to things that don't align. Not because they're cold or distant, but because they understand the power of focus. They've trained their minds to see possibility where others see limits. And that's what I want for you, to stop waiting for permission, to stop waiting for the world to hand you a map. You already have the compass. You just need to trust it. Scarcity says there's not enough. Abundance says there's more where that came from. And when you truly believe that, everything changes. You start to build, not because you're guaranteed success, but because you finally understand that the only real limits are the ones you accept. When you look at people who build real wealth, who create companies, who leave behind legacies, you'll notice something very specific about how they operate. They think in terms of decades, not days. They don't rush. They're not chasing every quick win. They have patience, but more importantly, they have vision. That's one of the most important shifts you can make if you want to train your mind like a millionaire. Stop thinking short term. Short-term thinking is seductive. It gives you a hit of progress, a feeling that you're doing something, even when you're not moving toward anything meaningful. It makes you reactive, addicted to instant results, always pivoting and chasing and comparing. But it keeps you stuck in survival mode. Building something that matters takes time. That's just the truth. And most people aren't wired for that kind of discipline. They want the reward without the runway. They want to skip the process, but the process is the path. Every day you show up, every decision you make, every lesson you learn, it's stacking. You don't see it at first, and that's what makes it hard. Because we've been trained to believe that if we don't get a result right away, it must not be working. But that's not how it works at all. I've seen it first. And how long it really takes to bring an idea to life. The messy, quiet parts where you feel like no one sees you, where nothing looks like it's moving, where you start to wonder if you were wrong. But if you can sit in that space, if you can stay the course, you build something stronger than momentum. You build conviction. You have to start thinking like a builder, not a gambler. A gambler plays for a quick payout. A builder lays bricks one by one, without applause, without shortcuts, because they know what they're building is going to last. That's how a millionaire thinks. They don't get distracted by noise. They're not jumping from one thing to the next because something didn't work after 2 weeks. They're playing the long game, and the long game isn't just about money. It's about decisions. It's about the habits you build when no one's watching. It's about becoming the kind of person who can hold success when it arrives. Because if success comes before you're ready, it's a curse, not a gift. You'll sabotage it. You'll fumble it. That's why long-term thinking isn't just strategic. It's essential. If you really want to shift into this mindset, start by asking yourself this question: what am I willing to commit to for the next 5 years, even if I don't see results right away? That question reveals what you actually believe in, because belief isn't tested when things are going well. It's tested when things are quiet, when the world isn't clapping yet, when you're still showing up, planting seeds, watering them, and trusting that something's growing beneath the surface. This kind of thinking also changes how you handle setbacks. Short-term thinkers treat failure like a dead end. Long-term thinkers treat it like feedback. They don't crumble when something doesn't work. They adjust, they refine, they keep moving forward because they're not married to how long it takes. They're committed to where it's going. It's like climbing a mountain. You don't expect to sprint to the top. You pace yourself, you prepare, you keep your eyes on the summit, even when the path is hard, even when it rains, even when you're tired. You don't stop just because it's not comfortable. You keep climbing. Because you know the view is worth it. Millionaire minds know how to delay gratification. They don't need to prove anything overnight. They don't seek validation from people who don't understand the journey. They're grounded in something deeper, a vision that pulls them forward. And when that vision is clear, patience isn't passive. It's powerful. It's focused. It's what allows you to build something that outlasts trends, outperforms hype, and outlives you. So the real question becomes, are you willing to slow down long enough to build something that matters? Are you willing to say no to distractions, to fast money, to easy paths, in order to stay true to the bigger picture? Because if you are, if you can think years ahead while staying grounded in what you're doing today, then you're already ahead of 99% of people, not because you're smarter, but because you're playing a different game entirely. Most people spend their entire lives chasing money. They think if they can just make more, save more, grab more, then they'll finally be secure, finally be free. But that's not how real wealth is built. It doesn't start with chasing. It starts with creating. The question you should be asking yourself isn't, how do I make more money? The better question is, how do I create more value? Because that's the secret. Money is just a reflection of the value you bring into the world. It's an echo of your usefulness. The more problems you solve, the more people you help, the more effectively you can take what's broken and make it better, the more the world wants to reward you. But most people never make that shift in thinking. They're still stuck in a mindset where money is the goal, not the byproduct. When I was building, I wasn't thinking, how do I get rich? I was obsessed with one thing, making something insanely valuable. Something people didn't even know they needed yet. Something that changed the way they interacted with the world, and the money that came after. It always does. If you focus on value first, you see, when you focus on money alone, you cut corners. You go for the easy win. You mimic what's trending instead of creating what's needed. You play it safe instead of pushing boundaries. But when your focus is on value, everything shifts. You start thinking like a problem solver. You ask deeper questions. You pay closer attention. You care more about the user, the customer, the human on the other side of what you're building. That's where greatness is born, in that space between someone's problem and your willingness to solve it better than anyone else. That's the heartbeat of a millionaire mind. It's not about accumulation. It's about contribution. What are you offering? What are you building? What are you pouring your energy into that actually matters? The truth is, money doesn't follow desperation. It follows impact. People don't pay for average. They pay for extraordinary. And extraordinary doesn't happen by chance. It happens when you commit to creating something so good, so useful, so powerful, that people can't ignore it. It happens when you care more about the craft than the credit. A lot of people out there are looking for shortcuts. They want hacks. They want to know the trick that'll help them make their first million. And there are tricks, sure, but none of them last unless there's real value underneath. You might make a quick buck, but if what you're doing doesn't actually help anyone, if it doesn't solve a problem or move someone forward, it's just noise. And the world is full of noise. Real success comes from tuning out that noise and focusing on the signal, the thing that actually makes a difference. Whether you're building a product, offering a service, or leading a team, ask yourself, how am I making life better for someone else? That's your edge. That's your leverage. That's the one thing no one can copy. Your ability to understand a need and meet it in a way that feels like magic. But it's not magic. It's intention. It's focus. It's doing the hard work that most people skip. It's choosing excellence over ego. When you do that, people notice, they feel it, and they respond with trust, loyalty, and yes, money, because they know they're getting something real. Now let's be clear. This isn't about working for free or undervaluing yourself. It's the opposite. When you focus on value, you increase your worth. You put yourself in a category where price is no longer the only factor, because what you're offering is unique, irreplaceable. And people will pay for that. They'll pay well for that. The challenge is, this takes time, it takes patience, it takes humility. You have to be willing to listen, to iterate, to make it better again and again, even when no one's watching. You have to stay committed to the long haul, to building something that doesn't just work once, but keeps working because it was built on something deeper than profit. You want to train your mind like a millionaire. Then stop thinking, what's in it for me? And start asking, what do people need and how can I give it to them in a way they've never seen before? That's where opportunity lies. That's where growth lies. That's where wealth, real wealth, begins. Because when you focus on creating value instead of chasing money, something powerful happens. Money starts chasing you. If there's one trait that separates people who rise from those who stay stuck, it's belief, relentless, stubborn, sometimes irrational belief in yourself. Not the kind of belief that depends on applause or validation. Not the kind that wavers when things go quiet. I'm talking about the belief that stays with you in the dark, in the silence, in the moments when nothing is working, but you keep going anyway. Most people don't lose because they lack talent. They lose because they stop believing. They stop betting on themselves. Somewhere along the way, they start listening to the wrong voices. People who say it can't be done. People who want them to stay in the box. People who gave up on their own dreams and now want you to do the same. And if you're not careful, those voices become your own. You have to guard your mind like it's your last resource, because in many ways it is. The way you speak to yourself, especially when things go wrong, shapes everything you'll ever build. Will you shrink back or lean in? Will you let fear write your story? Or will you trust your vision even when no one else can see it? I remember being told more than once that what I wanted to do was impossible, that I was dreaming too big, that I didn't have the background, the experience, the credibility, and maybe all of that was true on paper, but I didn't build based on what was on paper. I built based on belief. I didn't need a resume, I needed resolve, and that belief wasn't arrogance. It wasn't ego, it was clarity. I knew what I was here to create. I knew what mattered, and I wasn't going to let doubt, mine or anyone else's, take that from me. The truth is, most people wait for the world to give them permission before they move. They want someone to validate their ideas, approve their dreams, guarantee their success. But life doesn't work that way. You're the one who has to believe first, before the results, before the momentum, before the proof, especially before the proof, because there will be long stretches where there's nothing to grab onto. No evidence that you're making progress, no applause, no confirmation. And if you don't believe in yourself during those stretches, you'll give up. You'll convince yourself it wasn't meant for you. You'll look at the struggle and call it a sign to stop, when really it's a test to see how deep your belief goes. People think confidence is loud, but it's not. Real confidence is quiet. It's steady. It's internal. It's the ability to hold your ground when everyone else is moving, when everything's shaking, and you stay focused. That's what it looks like to trust yourself. That's what it means to have relentless belief. And no one else can give you that. People can encourage you, they can support you, but they can't give you belief. You have to build it yourself. You build it by keeping promises to yourself, by showing up when it's hard, by refusing to quit on the things that matter most. Every time you push through fear, every time you do something uncomfortable, every time you take a step forward when it would be easier to sit down, you're training that belief like a muscle. Don't let the fear of failure shrink you. Don't let the fear of being seen trying stop you from trying. You will fail. You will be misunderstood. You will be underestimated. That's part of it. Let people doubt you. Let them laugh. Let them say it can't be done. Then go out and do it anyway. And when you do fail, and you will, don't make it mean you're not good enough. Make it mean you're getting closer. Make it mean you're learning, evolving, getting stronger. The people who win in the end aren't the ones who avoid failure. They're the ones who refuse to let it define them. You want to train your mind like a millionaire. Then start treating yourself, belief, like your greatest asset. Because it is. It's the thing that will carry you when nothing else will. The foundation beneath every risk, every big move, every breakthrough. You can borrow inspiration. You can borrow ideas, but belief, that's yours. You either own it or you don't. So if you're waiting for someone to tell you you're ready, stop waiting. You've always been ready. The question is, are you willing to believe that's true even when no one else does? There's this idea floating around that success is about luck, or timing, or just being in the right place at the right time. But I've never bought into that. What I've seen, over and over, is that success comes to those who are obsessed with mastery. Not perfection, not applause, mastery. The people who win, the people who create lasting impact, are the ones who fall in love with the process, who commit to the craft, who are willing to go deeper than anyone else. And here's the truth most people miss. Mastery looks boring from the outside. It looks repetitive. It looks slow. But what it really is discipline, relentless discipline, the discipline to show up when it's inconvenient. The discipline to keep going when the excitement wears off. The discipline to refine, revise, and repeat until it's right. Not just good, not just acceptable, right. You don't get good at anything by accident. You get good by being intentional, by caring more than the next person, by looking at every detail, every interaction, every decision and asking, how can I do this better? That's what separates the amateurs from the pros. Amateurs chase moments, pros build systems. They create habits that carry them through the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. And I'll be honest, discipline is rarely glamorous. No one claps for you when you wake up early to work on something that won't pay off for months or years. No one's watching when you rewrite the same line 10 times or rebuild something that no one even noticed was broken. But those small, unsexy decisions, they're the foundation. They're the difference between something that fades and something that lasts. You've got to decide what kind of legacy you want to build. Not just a legacy in terms of wealth, but in terms of excellence, in terms of how you do what you do, in terms of what your work says when you're not in the room. Because make no mistake, your work speaks. Every choice you make is a reflection of your standards, and your standards will never rise above your discipline. Most people quit too soon. They try once, maybe twice, and when it doesn't take off, they move on. But people with a millionaire mind, they don't just try. They train. They train like athletes. They're not hoping to be good. They're preparing to be great. And that takes repetition. It takes refinement. It takes resilience. This isn't about grinding yourself into the ground. It's about respecting your potential enough to push it. It's about understanding that greatness isn't found in what you do once. It's in what you do consistently. It's in showing up on the days when you don't feel like it, when the excitement is gone, when the results aren't immediate, when no one's watching. That's where mastery is born. You want to train your mind like a millionaire. Then fall in love with getting better. Make discipline your default. Build systems that support your growth, whether that means how you spend your mornings, how you tackle your toughest tasks, how you manage your energy. Every choice either reinforces your vision or erodes it. There is no neutral, and the best part is this is something you can train. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you build, one decision at a time, one small promise kept, one moment of choosing growth over comfort. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be committed. Start paying attention to the things you do daily, not the big goals, but the tiny ones, the 5 minutes of focused work, the extra reps, the time you spend reading instead of scrolling. That's the compound effect in action. Those small wins, multiplied over time, lead to breakthroughs, and they lead to confidence, not the fake kind, but the kind that's earned, the kind that no one can take from you because you know how hard you've worked. And yes, it will be hard. Yes, it will be inconvenient. But every time you choose discipline, every time you choose mastery, you're building something that lasts, something that compounds, something that pays you back in ways no shortcut ever could. Because in the end, it's not about being the most talented. It's about being the most consistent, the most committed, the one who keeps showing up, keeps improving, keeps rising. And if you can be that person, if you can choose mastery over mediocrity, then the world doesn't stand a chance at stopping you. Most people think the future just happens. Like it's something that arrives on your doorstep one day, new technology, new rules, new opportunities. And you just deal with it when it comes, but that's not how it works. The future doesn't just happen. It's built, it's shaped, it's designed by people who see what's coming before anyone else does, and who are bold enough to move toward it while everyone else is still clinging to the past. Training your mind like a millionaire means being one of those people. It means thinking forward always. It means refusing to stay stuck in the comfort of what's familiar just because it worked yesterday. It means looking at the way things are and asking yourself, what's next, what's better, what hasn't been done yet, and then moving toward that sometimes before it makes sense to anyone else. That kind of mindset isn't easy because it requires you to live slightly ahead of your time, to bet on ideas before they're popular, to invest energy, time, and belief into something that doesn't yet have proof, and that's scary. Most people want certainty. They want to follow a path someone else has already cleared. But when you're building something great, something new, that path doesn't exist yet. You're laying it one step at a time, and the only compass you've got is vision. Vision isn't about predicting every detail. It's about seeing patterns. It's about listening to the world. not just what people are saying, but what they're not saying. It's about noticing friction, pain points, inefficiencies, gaps, and then trusting yourself enough to build something that closes that gap in a way no one else has considered. That's how the biggest breakthroughs are born. Not from asking, what are others doing, but from asking, what should exist that doesn't. That question is dangerous to small minds, but it's gold for a trained one. And once you start seeing the world that way, you can't unsee it. You begin to realize that everything around you, every product, every service, every system, was built by someone no smarter than you. Someone who just chose to believe their ideas could become real. So don't wait to be told what the future is. Start shaping it, start contributing to it, start asking yourself, what role do I want to play in what's coming? Because the people who lead tomorrow are already thinking about it today. They're already asking better questions. They're already making moves that seem strange to the crowd, but completely obvious in hindsight. It's not about being trendy, it's about being awake. It's about staying curious, staying flexible, and never getting too comfortable with the way things are. Because comfort is the enemy of innovation. The moment you get too cozy with your current success, you stop stretching, you stop imagining, and the world passes you by. You want to train your mind like a millionaire. Then stop obsessing over what's already happened and start focusing on what's about to happen. Build your awareness like a muscle, read widely, listen deeply, connect dots others can't see, ask questions no one else is asking. That's how you stay ahead. That's how you move fast while others are still debating whether it's time. And don't be afraid to fail while moving forward. Failure is just another way the future tests your commitment. It's part of the territory when you're walking into uncharted space. So take the risk. Launch the idea. Follow the insight. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be bold. You'll adjust. You'll iterate. But you'll be moving while others are still watching. The future rewards action. It rewards vision, and it definitely rewards courage. Not the loud kind, but the quiet kind. The courage to think differently, to challenge norms, to believe in possibilities others don't see yet. That's the kind of mindset that builds empires, shifts industries, and rewrites what's possible. Because in the end, those who shape the future don't wait for it. They create it.